Oh, you want to play psycho killer? Can I be the helpless victim?
Cross your eyes and scream, man. Scream for your life.
Welcome, Scream Things. I'm Jenica Olin. This is my 27th episode, and we are exploring momsters in May. Mothers in horror. A family unravels after a devastating loss, only to discover their grief is just a mask for something much darker. As secrets buried deep in the bloodline begin to surface, a quiet dread takes root, one that twists love into fear, memory into madness, and lineage into a curse. What begins as mourning slowly mutates into ritual, revealing that the true horror was always part of them. My guests for this episode are my sisters, Monique and Alicia. We get into some pretty deep and informative conversations about this film, mental health, cults, symbols, and rituals used to worship Payman. So I changed the format a little, and the true horrors and the horror talk portion are combined for this episode. If you're new here, each episode will have an intro, brief synopsis of the movie, an analysis of the film, and then I get into the true horrors of it all. I'm a huge true crime fan, and I like to make connections between the true horrors that inspire our darkest imaginations. The truth is, the stuff on screen is way tamer than the true horrors that take place every day. Spoiler alert, I've made it my job to spoil the shit out of this movie. Today, I will be covering the 2018 psychological horror, Hereditary. Directed and written by Ari Aster, starring Toni Collette, Millie Shapiro, Gabrielle Byron, and Alex Wolff. The estimated budget was $10 million for this movie, and the estimated gross worldwide was $87 million. The tagline for this film: every family tree has a secret. Some quick trivia about this film. Toni Collette has called Ari Aster the most prepared director she ever worked with. She praised him for practically having the full movie already shot and edited in his head 2 years before they started filming. In an interview, Alex Wolff explains that he wanted to actually break his nose for the scene where his character slams his head on a desk. Director Ari Aster specifically declined that offer and told Wolff they'd give him a soft cushion desk for the scene. When it was time for the scene to be shot, Wolff slams his head into the desk only to discover that the top was foam and the bottom was hard. He ended up dislocating his jaw during this scene, which was a previous injury he had. During the party scene, just as Peter enters the bedroom to smoke weed, some kids are watching a black and white video on a laptop of someone being beheaded on a guillotine, foreshadowing the film's multiple beheadings. During her funeral speech, Annie mentions that there are many strangers at the ceremony. It's later revealed that her mother was a cult member. The strangers at the funeral were members of the cult, some of whom can be seen in and around the house during the film's final act. Let's set the scene with a synopsis of the movie.
Who's gonna take care of me?
You don't think I'm gonna take care of you?
But when you die...
She wasn't altogether there. At the end.
Mom? I don't like this. Dad, I don't like this.
What's happening? Peter! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother! Wait, stop! Mom, what's happening? Make it stop! Make it stop!
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
The story begins in a quiet Utah town with the death of Ellen Lee, the 78-year-old matriarch of the Graham family. At her funeral, her daughter Annie delivers a restrained eulogy, revealing Ellen was a private and secretive woman, even to her own family.
My mother was a very secretive and private woman.
She had private rituals, private friends, private anxieties. It honestly feels like a betrayal just to be standing here talking about her.
Annie is a miniature artist, often lost in her detailed dioramas. Her husband, Steve, is calm and rational. They have 2 children, Peter, a typical high schooler, and 13-year-old Charlie, a strange, withdrawn girl who makes a distinctive clucking noise with her tongue and seems eerily out of sync with the world. Charlie is deeply affected by her grandmother's death. She mentions that Ellen always wanted her to be a boy, and cryptically asks, "Who will take care of me now?" Annie is confused but shrugs it off. Things quickly take a disturbing turn. A bird flies into Charlie's classroom window, and later she cuts its head off. Meanwhile, Annie begins seeing visions of her dead mother. Steve receives a call that Ellen's grave has been desecrated, but keeps it from Annie. Annie, struggling with grief, secretly attends a support group, opens up about her family's dark history. Her father starving himself, her brother died by suicide, claiming their mother tried to put people inside him, and now Ellen is gone too.
My name's Annie.
Hi, Annie.
My mom died a week ago, so I'm just here for trying it. I have a lot of resistance to things like this, but I came to these a couple of years ago. Well, I was forced to come, and I guess it helped. So my mom was old, and she wasn't altogether there at the end, and we were pretty much estranged before that, so it really wasn't a huge blow. But I did love her.
Later, Peter asks to go to a party. Annie agrees on the condition that he brings Charlie along. At the party, Peter ditches her to smoke weed. Charlie unknowingly eats cake with nuts in it and has a severe allergic reaction. Panicking, Peter drives her toward the hospital, but when Charlie sticks her head out the window for air, Peter swerves to avoid a deer, and she's decapitated by a utility pole. Peter drives home in shock, leaving Charlie's body in the car. The next morning, Annie discovers her daughter's corpse and unleashes a scream that echoes through the house. Charlie's funeral follows. Grief fractures the family. Annie sleeps in the treehouse where Charlie once stayed. Peter is haunted. He hears the clucking noise and thinks he sees Charlie in the shadows. Annie tries to keep herself busy with her art, but her mind unravels further. She meets a woman named Joan at a grief meeting. Joan is warm and empathetic and shares that she lost her son and grandson. The two form a connection. When Annie visits Joan later, she confesses a horrifying secret. Years ago, she sleepwalked and doused herself, Peter, and Charlie in paint thinner, waking up just as she was about to strike a match. Her relationship with Peter has never been the same. One night at dinner, Annie snaps and blames Peter for Charlie's death. Peter fires back, reminding her she forced Charlie to go to the party. The tension explodes. Soon after, Annie runs into Joan again, who now claims she attended a seance that allowed her to speak to her dead grandson. She invites Annie to try it. In Joan's apartment, a glass moves on its own, and writing appears on a chalkboard. Annie is shaken, but intrigued. That night, Annie conducts her own seance using Charlie's belongings. She wakes Steve and Peter to witness it. Annie appears to become possessed, speaking in Charlie's voice, terrifying Peter. Steve douses her with water to stop it. Peter becomes increasingly disturbed. At school, he sees his reflection grin back at him with a different expression. He hears Charlie cluck again. That night, Annie finds Charlie's sketchbook drawing on its own. When she tries to burn it, her own arm catches on fire, proving a supernatural link. Annie tries to find Joan for help, but Joan is gone. Her apartment is filled with ritual objects, candles, and pictures of Peter surrounded by a summoning triangle. Annie finds the same symbol from Joan's apartment in her mother's things and learns it's tied to the demon Payman, one of Hell's kings. She digs through her attic and finds Ellen's headless corpse, arranged in a ritual circle. She realizes her mother was part of a demon-worshipping cult and that Joan was her partner in a long-time plan to summon Payman into a male host. First Charlie, and now Peter. Annie tells Steve everything, including her belief that burning Charlie's sketchbook will break the curse. Steve refuses, thinking Annie has lost her mind. In desperation, Annie throws it in herself, but Steve bursts into flames and dies.
You are sick, Annie. I need to call the police.
The glowing light seen earlier enters Annie. She's now fully possessed. Peter wakes in the night to find Annie floating silently in the corner of his room. As he wanders the house, he finds his father's charred corpse and Annie chasing him. He flees to the attic and finds candles, flies, and a photo of himself with the eyes scratched out. Then, in one of the film's most horrifying scenes, Annie floats into the attic and saws off her own head with piano wire.
Ah!
Peter, traumatized, jumps out the window. He lies motionless on the ground until the glowing lights enter him. He rises, expressionless, and follows Annie's headless body as it floats into the house. Inside, he finds cult members bowing. The walls are adorned with symbols. A statue of Payman stands in the center, with Charlie's decapitated head on top. Joan crowns Peter and welcomes him as Payman, saying, "You are Charlie. Now you are Payman." The cult hails his arrival. The film ends as the camera pulls back to reveal the entire scene laid out like one of Annie's miniature dioramas. Everything orchestrated, inescapable, and chillingly predestined.
You are Payman, one of the 8 kings of hell. We have looked to the northwest and called you in. We've corrected your first female body and give you now this healthy male host. We reject the Trinity and pray devoutly to you, great Payman. Give us your knowledge of all secret things. Bring us honor, wealth, and good familiars. Bind all men to our will as we have bound ourselves for now and ever to yours. Hail, Payman! Hail, Payman! Hail, Payman! Hail!
Today, my guests are my sisters, Alicia and Monique, and we are talking about the movie Hereditary. So let's get into it, you guys. How are you feeling after watching that movie?
Confused.
Okay, confused, Alicia?
I love this movie. This is like the 12th time I've seen the movie. I love it.
Okay, so you understand. You're an expert.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think that I'm interested in a lot of your takes on this stuff, but I'm also interested in Monique's skepticism and how that's going to clash with our excitement with this movie. I think it's actually really funny because she did not enjoy this movie.
I think it's too close to home.
Yeah.
Was it?
I mean, there were some similarities for sure.
I think she just didn't like I don't think it was just that.
I think it's a little bit of both. We're going to get into the themes of this movie. And I want to start out. So in the movie, we start out with grief and loss. So our main character, the mom, Annie,
her mom dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's at the funeral, she's giving the funeral speech, and it's super detached. She
That's what I was gonna
obviously,
say. I didn't feel like there was any grief or loss there at all. Like
not
it was a
really.
very cold, just everything about it.
Hmm. Yeah, she says stuff like my mom was um always really secretive. She had these like the mental health issues. I think
Mm-hmm.
she gets into there in that initial speech. And she also talks about how her mom was like really stubborn
Yeah.
and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like she says she was stubborn.
Yeah, she basically was like, she said that her mother would be surprised to see that many people there because as far as she knew, her mom didn't like have like a lot of friends and stuff. So, but then she also mentioned that her mother was a woman of secret rituals, secret
Hmm.
friendships. So like it just seemed like she really did like it was a very unintimate relationship with her mother. There seemed to be no real connection there. It seemed like very sterile.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So in that we got a lot of kind of like breadcrumbs of what was to come.
Mm-hmm.
Especially there is a lot of foreshadowing when she talks about like rituals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really significant later on in the movie. She goes to grief counseling
Mm-hmm.
after that. And in the grief counseling, she starts telling them about her mom's history. And I don't know how much you guys remember of that dialogue. So so you watch that scene again.
Yeah, and like what I was trying to point out to Mo was basically what she was saying there because she was giving all of the backstory pretty
Oh
much.
yeah,
Like,
she was spilling the tea. She was
oh
like,
yeah,
my mom's a fucking crazy bitch.
no, straight up. I think from a film perspective, I love that they gave so much of the backstory in such a clever way because
Uh-huh.
the support group was the perfect way to let all that out because it organically made sense and then it gave so much context to the viewer.
She tries to not repeat the patterns of her mother in
Hmm.
that generational curse, right? So
Yeah.
she's going to therapy. She's going to this support group because she wants to seek help so that she doesn't end up like her mom.
Hmm.
But we see how that ended up.
So I didn't was interesting to me that the mother had a strained relationship. I guess what was Colette's
Yes.
mother had a strained relationship with her son,
Mhm.
and likewise her relationship with Colette's relationship with her son was strained in the movie. And I remember the
Okay.
little girl mentioning something about the grandmother never wanted her to be a girl. She wanted her to be a boy.
Yes. She wanted her to be a boy because so there's a demon, there's a god that they are worshiping, but it can only be summoned into a boy's body. She wanted her to be a boy instead of a girl. The daughter ends
Charlie.
up,
Charlie.
yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie ends up being possessed temporarily
Hmm.
as like a intermediate,
Placeholder host.
yeah, Paimon, I think.
Paidman.
Payman.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't think Charlie was ever Charlie when we see Charlie.
I don't think so either. She was
No.
dark.
Yeah.
There was it just there weren't any little girl vibes either. If
She was a weirdo, yeah. When she died, Loki, the first time I watched this movie, I was very relieved. I'm not even gonna lie. Because I thought she was so irritating and weird and ugly,
She
honestly.
is irritating and weird, but that's mean. She's ugly, so she
What
should die.
weirdo. No, not I didn't want her to die, but like that clicking sound was driving me insane. Like, I don't know. You know how I am about sounds. I did kind of want her to die at some point.
Yeah, no, you are really weird about sounds. I will say that clicking sound comes back later. So when Peter gets possessed, he starts doing the clicking sound. And you start seeing all these lights and things but she says when she's in the meeting, her father died by starving himself.
Yes.
So the men die horribly in this family, which
Mm-hmm.
is a theme And then the older brother, her older brother had schizophrenia and died by suicide, claiming that their mother was trying to put people inside him.
Mm-hmm.
And this horrifying detail, it reveals Ellen's long-running attempts at securing a male host for King Payman.
Mm-hmm.
Payman.
Yep.
He actually is a real figure.
He's like in the occult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I did some research into him.
Nice.
Payman. Yep. And they were actually extremely accurate in this movie in the way that they portrayed the possession and all of that.
I believe
Then Annie herself has a really dark history of sleepwalking and disturbing behavior. She tried to set her son on fire.
What in the hell? Like, why? So what I'm trying to understand right now about the dad is, why did he starve himself? Is it because Paidman tried to take possession of him, but like because he wasn't technically from the lineage, like he wasn't in the bloodline, it wasn't sufficient, so he just killed himself by starving himself, or like,
Yeah, because why wouldn't they possess the father? Because the mother was possessed by something at one
right?
point.
So why do you think he starved himself?
The mom wasn't possessed.
Oh no, when she was crawling up the walls.
Well, that's different. We're talking about Paidman. We're talking about the.
No, she said the mom wasn't possessed though.
No, but I mean, okay, so the mom might have been, she wasn't possessed in the way of like a demon entered her body. It was a different kind of possession where she's more a servant to the demon. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out why he starved himself. Would you have a theory on that?
So my theory is that he was possessed by Payman. And then when that didn't work, when the host didn't take, it was probably only temporary, just like Charlie was temporary. And then whenever her older brother was possessed, which was probably shortly after the dad died, and then he ended up killing himself because of the possession that was trying to take place. And her mom never really cared about her because she wasn't male. So because she wasn't male, she couldn't be, a host.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I was thinking too, is that probably the dad, when the dad died, then the Payman demon went over to the brother, and then, but like, yeah.
There's something I don't get about this though, because the mother's body was brought back, was exhumed, right? So was that to like reincarnate her? Like what was the point of doing that?
It was all part of the ritual. And like I still have some more research to do before I record that part, but it's all part of the ritual, and they don't really see themselves as passed on anyway, right? Because they have this spiritualism, whether they're worshiping the occult or Heavenly Father or whatever, they have this belief that you are not gone. And
I almost felt like she was in a wedding dress way later on in life. She was an elderly woman in a wedding dress. I felt like maybe they brought her back. I thought, I don't know. Have you ever seen the Skeleton Key where they would need to like body swap?
Yeah, it's nothing like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I took it more as like, I think that was more of an abundance ritual where like she was wearing, because in the pictures, the grandma's wearing the wedding dress, she has the veil, and they're like showering her with gold coins. I think that's just like a part of the abundance or whatever, fertility or something ritual.
He's described as a king of hell, incredibly knowledgeable, and usually requires a male host, which is Charlie at first, and then as the temporary host, and then ends up being Peter. He's supposed to bestow on them knowledge, power, wealth, devotion from followers. Exact. So that's what the cult is trying to get. So the coins are going to be wealth. The knowledge is going to probably be, or the power is probably the crown. And then the devotion is all the followers that are like kneeled at the end, but we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. In life or death, you're the follower.
Yeah, true. And I'm so sorry. We have so much ADHD on this. Like I'm gonna let you take control here, Jen. You keep us on track, okay?
Okay. Okay, so basically there's a lot of themes of mental health. She also mentions that her mom had DID, which is like the multiple personalities.
Dissociative identity disorder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which she also, I mean, famously for her role in United States of Terra, she played somebody with DID. She did such a great job.
Oh my God, she was so amazing in that show. I loved it. I love that show.
Toni Collette is so fucking talented.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, she sells this movie. Without her, her performance, like if we even go back to her grief. So here's the interesting thing about this movie. Annie did not have a good relationship with her mom. Her mom didn't even want her, just the way that her mom didn't want Charlie really, because Charlie was a girl. So she didn't know all of this stuff about her mom. But whether or not she knew this stuff about her mom, she ended up being in this trap. And she ended up still reenacting and doing everything that was basically laid out for her to do. The grief that she feels whenever Charlie's gets decapitated, and decapitation is part of the ritual for Payman.
Do you know why yet or no?
I have to read a little bit more, but it is, in particular, it is part of his ritual for Payman.
That is weird. I've seen this movie so many times, and I guess I never really thought about that as much as I should have, to be honest. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Whenever Toni Collette, Annie, is grieving the loss of her daughter, that's a really sad scene. Like you can feel the way she's screaming and the way she's like, it's so guttural, and she's saying things like, I just want to die. And
oh my God, I know. It was so primal.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing was so fucking relatable to me. Like, I mean, I don't think I'll ever be in like, Jesus Christ, like who's going to ever end up in a situation like this, right? But it's one of those things where, like, if you put yourself in any of their shoes, like from the brother's perspective, like, because Monique and I were talking about this, she's like, what the fuck? Like, he just left her in the car? Like, what would you do? Like, would you want to?
I didn't realize that he left her in the car.
Oh, the body?
Yeah.
What would you do? Yeah, what, you can't touch the body.
No, I would have done, if I was in his shoes, I probably would have done, whatever he did made perfect sense to me, because like he was so dissociated, he was not on this planet anymore. He knew good and goddamn well his sister was dead, and he did not
no
want to have to
head.
see it. Yeah.
You don't survive that.
No, but like he literally never even looked back though. Like he didn't even check, because like she went from like a wheezing, like dying for breath, to like now there's silence after this big thud after he swings by nearby a pole. Like he knows his sister just got decapitated. He didn't even check. He didn't even make sure. I don't think he even saw the body. I don't think he even wanted to see it.
He just heard it and he knew.
He knew. Like, what else could that be, bro? Like, what else could that possibly be?
Yeah. I mean, I would look back probably from morbid curiosity, but
3 sisters here in the chat. So who would look back? Jenica would look back.
No way.
Who would be the one sticking their head out the window?
Alicia, for sure.
Get the fuck out.
No, listen, to not be part of that family, I volunteer as tribute. I'd rather have my head knocked off.
Lord.
Well, we are that family in a lot of ways, so we're going to talk about that.
Is that so?
We are. So let's talk about the fact that the mom had DID, because mental health is a huge aspect of this. And the lines between mental health and occult like following is blurred. It's blurred for a reason, because they want you to question, like, is this happening because of like this outward entity, or is it happening because they're mentally ill?
Maybe a little bit of both.
I mean, so that's the thing. It could be both, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. They can be intertwined. I put on this stupid lipstick filter, and
No,
it
you look
will not
pretty.
go away. No, it like I don't know how to turn it off, and my lighting isn't good, so it's like not matching up, and you'll see my lips float away.
Oh, wait, I see your lips moving now.
It's only good if I have the right lighting. And right now, I just look like I have floating lips.
You do. Oh my God, that's so funny.
And I can't turn it off.
Can you cut these parts of things off?
Yeah, but I also leave it in if it's funny.
Oh.
Wait, hold on, let me get this. Let me get this. Is this at the right height?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's at the right height.
Okay. All right. But yeah, no, it's funny because like at the at the very like towards the end, the dad, I felt God, like really quick, let me just say, as someone who grew up being gaslit by a crazy ass mother, it must have been so frustrating for Annie's character she just put together all those pieces. She just figured out what's going on. Her husband gets home and she's showing him the evidence of what's happened. And he's basically like, wow, you are literally crazy. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But she was spitting facts. Like she was telling the truth, but she looked insane because she was insane.
And it's that even if what she was saying was sane, the way she was saying it wasn't sane.
Exactly. She was so manic and like after everything that they'd already been through, and then they had been dealing with the issue with the mom's grave, and then he just found out that the grave was robbed.
Well, he put his 2 and 2 together also.
Yeah, he was doing his own little investigation.
Yeah.
And he's like, based on normal life, this woman dug up her mom, put her in the attic, and is now creating this whole story about whatever she's saying.
It's crazy.
No, but yeah, I mean, our mom doesn't have DID per se.
Have you ever thought she could?
I think she's a good pretender. I think there are definitely.
I think she's had episodes of psychosis where she's seen things or.
But do you think that's real? Do you think that she actually makes this stuff up, like part of it, like for attention?
I mean, all of it's for it, even if you really believe it, like.
Yeah. Yes, what it is it's a fractured sense of self that requires the external world to reflect back to it what it is. That's mom's thing. But DID, the way I see DID is like multiple personalities. The way that I think our mother might fall into that is that there's a splitting with her, which is also a BPD thing. But like, it's not just where she sees other people as all good or all bad, although that does also happen. But it's almost like her personality splits. You know what I'm saying? Like it's weird. Like the first time I ever really noticed it, like was when I was a teenager. So that part of my brain had started to be developed where I was starting to like notice things like this. And it was grandma was coming over. And mom just became like, we were living in the house on in Tampa Palms on Ashley Park Place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And mom just like, she literally became a different person. I don't know how to explain it. Like you weren't in the house at the time, and I don't think you were in the house at the time either. I think you had been out, but I think Alex might remember. Anyway, she just like, that was the first time I ever saw her like really like, I could see that there was a different person. Like she changed her personality.
Was it better or?
I don't remember. All I remember is that when grandma came over to visit, literally I did not feel like our mother was there. It was very bizarre for me because I was a teenager and I didn't really understand what was happening. All I could tell was that my mom was behaving very, very, very differently. Like
I definitely saw switches in her personality when it came to social situations, and not like your typical, oh, this person's introverted or they're a little, no, it was like extreme personality changes and like change of extreme like
It was
demeanor,
super nice to
voice.
people. She was nice to people. She did change the way that she spoke. She still does that. And she was very helpful and accommodating. And I would be like, what the?
Yeah, like who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And it's like very gaslighting to us because it's like people would you know, they would be like, "Oh, what do you mean your mom's like the X, Y, and Z?
You know, people tell me today, they correct me today, and I'm like, no, you don't know who she is. I chose a husband that did the exact same thing. In public, he was an angel. At home, there was a totally different person that lived there.
Yeah. And I mean, she has borderline personality, and that's part of borderline personality that can be a symptom of it. And then all her other kind of behaviors that are very attention seeking and destructive. And I mean, honestly, we were basically part of a cult, being raised in the Jehovah's Witness faith. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
The cult of Jehovah instead of the cult of Payman.
So, and that's legit. So, Monique, you've remained in the cult a little bit longer than we did.
Yeah. Are you still a member of the cult?
Yeah, I can't say that I was a Jehovah's Witness, but it's a very different lifestyle. Mom did things, let's back it up first. Mom did things not in love. Mom did things with a lot of fear. So she constantly had us believing that the world was going to end and we were going to die and we were bad people if we didn't do things just so. So there was absolutely no balance at all.
You know, that sounds like a cult.
Yeah, but that was okay, but that's something that she created. That was
that's something that Jehovah's Witness Church created too.
I had a very different experience. Oh God, to be honest with you.
Oh shit.
I'm not gonna say it's not a cult. Yes, there are things 100%, but Mom, I think there's also a way of this is not about religion.
The whole church focuses on the end days.
That's not true.
That's not true at all. I went to fucking church.
I'm telling you, Mom, I didn't get that same experience of ever focusing on, not death or end days. Those were not things that, or maybe I just chose not to focus on those, but those weren't highlights of religion for me.
Well, in their sermons, church meeting I went to, there was something about how the end days, at the end of there was some hint of it in each sermon. And
I will say to the both of your credit, because the truth is I see what both of you guys are saying, and I agree with the both of you to some extent. I agree more with Jenica, but I also see what Monique is saying, because you have to consider where Monique was coming from. Her vantage point was that she became a mother very young, and she didn't have any proper role models for how to be a parent. So she was just trying to do her best to try and live with some sort of value system that she thought would be good for her children. So for her, she was getting something different from those messages because she was listening with a different vantage point.
I never focused on, honestly, I never saw it like a doom and gloom sort of a message at all.
So she got a very different message from it because she went to that for hope and for
restrictive 100%.
Yeah.
A restrictive 100%, but never something that made me feel like I needed to focus on, or I needed to act a certain way, or remain a certain way because the end days were coming. Never. With Mom, I felt like that. Mom gave me a lot of anxiety about death and end days. Actually, when COVID came about, I didn't realize how much she had inculcated in my kids that they were going to die and the world was ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. This is actually the perfect example as to what, or not example, but like explanation or whatever, further evidence of it being a cult, because cults in and of themselves, the people who are in the cult are not in the cult for the dark, insidious reasons most of the time. So like in the case of our mother, this is just someone who's very mentally unwell. So of course she's going in there with this lens of looking for the end times. So she's gonna, and then
that was the whole focus.
That was her thing. But the truth is, to Jenica's point that she made earlier, I do feel at the Kingdom Hall, I've been to many different churches. I've been to non-denominational, been to Baptist, I've been to Lutheran, Methodist. I've been to a lot of different types of churches, and I will say that Jehovah's Witnesses, hands down, are the most doom and gloom and fire and brimstone consistently.
Yes.
Consistently. I agree with Jenica in the sense that, like, I don't recall a single time going to the Kingdom Hall where at some point we weren't just shamed for being human.
I mean, I don't have the same experience you guys do though, so I don't want to take away from that. Like, I don't know how much you guys actually went to the Kingdom Hall. I know mom never instilled anything loving, and people felt alienated, isolated. Obviously, they're not gonna welcome gay people.
Yeah.
And so that definitely is.
But you know what? I will say this. Of all the times that mom has really, like, come through for me, she's been very supportive of me being a lesbian. She's always been devoutly Jehovah's Witness.
She wasn't devoutly Jehovah's Witness is a problem. And you realize that she likes us to be in turmoil.
So I think the problem here is that, I mean, you had Giselle very young and you were already living the adult life. You and John got your first place together. How old were you?
15.
Yeah. You looked at everything through a very different lens.
Yeah, you guys, we were just discussing that. I didn't live with her as long. At 9 years old, I was already staying with different people. At 11 years old, I was living out of the house every single weekend, every break. By 15 years old, I had a kid. I moved in with dad when I was 14, and I was in and out. You guys experienced her on a totally different level.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Annie in the movie is trying to get away from the mental illness. She doesn't want to be like her mom, but she ends up having mental illness herself. She ends up sleepwalking. She ends up doing all these things, targeting her son. That one argument that they have at the dining room table it's just really sad. You can tell she hates him.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that scene?
That scene was really difficult to watch, but the part that was the most difficult was when he woke up, when it kind of seemed like if it was a dream, and she just had diarrhea of the mouth and told him, I never wanted you. Like, I tried to get rid of you. I tried every way possible to get rid of you.
Yeah.
And even when they're upstairs in the attic and he's saying, like, Mommy, I'm sorry. You know, why didn't you love me? That kid suffered so much. And I think he just wanted his mother's love and acceptance the whole time. So I think that was kind of hard because, like, for us, it's different. Mom always wanted a boy. She didn't want girls.
Oh my God.
So
Jenica,
to see
I
it opposite.
didn't fucking realize.
Yeah.
That's perfect. This literally is the perfect representation of mom.
She didn't want us. She wanted boys.
Oh my God.
So for us, yeah, that's the whole thing.
She only had 3 girls because she had to get to the boy. Damn.
He could have stopped at you.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And I saw that relationship very reminiscent of you and mom's relationship, Monique.
You think so?
I think so.
How?
Ooh, I agree.
You guys fight a lot.
And you were made responsible for everything that was never your fucking responsibility.
Right. But so if you think about it, the mother, she was also made responsible because remember she said, I feel responsible. I actually related to her a lot in that moment when she was in therapy and she's like, she felt to blame. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see the son was more loving. I've never had a loving approach with mom. We've been toe to toe. It hasn't been, I'm going to give you even a tiny bit of room to breathe. I don't know if we actually don't like each other or we both pretend we don't like each other, but that's something that she set in motion. And actually, she's always shown me a great disdain for her own mother. And I think when you set that, like, I don't like my mom sort of thing, it's easier for your child to see that as a way of being. Mm-hmm. Like, it's normal to not have a relationship with your mom.
No, yeah. When she was over here and we were recording, she was talking about her mom and how she doesn't, like her mom wasn't motherly or all these things. So, and that just plays into the generational trauma as well.
But how they were trying to break that. So we didn't get love or nurture or affection, which I'm not affectionate either. And I really regret that. But you and I did pretty well for having.
Yes, you both did.
Having no parents.
Yes, Monique, you should be very proud of yourself. Seriously.
I mean, I'm not saying I didn't fuck up, but I'm just, you had no, considering the circumstances.
You had no role models and you did a very good job. You really did. You did everything you could for those kids.
You too, ma'am.
For my kids. For my cats. Oh,
her
Jenica.
cat.
Yeah, Jenica did a good job, and she found Pete. So, like, what the fuck? That's like a cheat code.
Listen, you were the girl in the movie because she had a great husband too.
What do you mean? What girl in what movie?
Annie. Tony
Yeah,
Collette.
Annie.
I'm not Annie.
100%. How do you not relate to Annie?
I'm not her. Okay? I don't relate to Annie because I would never be that way. I would never set my child on fire.
She was sleepwalking. It was subconscious.
And she was setting all three of them on fire. It's not, if you think about it, she put lighter fluid on Charlie
And she was going to kill
and
herself,
herself. And actually, not for nothing, but there are moments that I have felt like, when she was telling her son, I never wanted you. I have told my kids before, like, I love you to death, but this was to love another human this way and to worry, like your mom brain is there forever. It doesn't matter. That never turns off. Your life is no longer your own. You are possessed.
That's true.
I almost feel like that burning of all of them was a way for her to subconsciously end the trauma, everything within that was happening within.
That makes sense.
Oh, I'm really glad you brought that up because I told Monique, I was like, damn, I want to talk to Jenica about the fire part. So let me ask you this. I know we're cutting a little ahead, and I do want to go back to the original question about the dinner, the dinner conversation, because I have a lot to say about that. Well, not a lot, but something. Anyway, so the book. So this is my question. That book. The first time Annie threw it in the fire, the book, and when it started burning, she started burning.
Yeah.
Right? So then her husband comes home, this poor man, he comes home after picking up his kid from school. His kid just bashed his head in on his desk multiple times, and then he had to go pick his kid up from school. Comes home, his wife is flipping out, and he thinks that he just discovered that his wife exhumed her dead mother from the grave and put her in his basement. And now she's telling him to throw this book in the fire so that it can kill her because she deserves to die. So he's like, I'm not dealing with this shit. You're crazy. And I'm not doing this. And so Tony Collette then Annie throws the book in the fire because she wants to just end it all for herself. And he catches on fire. What's that all about?
So there's like a generational curse within the family. So basically I saw that as the generational curse. The dad was already left out of that initial attempt at family genocide or whatever. Famicide, whatever it's called.
Famicide.
He was left out of that too, right? So I think it has to do more with the intentions and the fact that you can't get away from your destiny. Like she wanted to change the course by killing herself.
You brought that up in the beginning of the movie when the son was in school and the professor was giving a lecture. Alicia brought that up in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, he's basically like because they lay the framework for it. Basically, he's like in a literature class and they're talking about a play, and I think it was the question for the class was, does it make it more or less tragic that he had no control over his destiny no matter what? Like, because like at the end of the day, like this guy, whatever he tried to do, he failed, but it didn't matter because he was already destined to fail. It doesn't make it more tragic that he didn't have a say in it.
Yes.
Like, and that, And so
I remember that. Yeah. That was 100% foreshadowing. No matter what, she couldn't get away from her destiny. Whenever she burnt the book, all she did was destroy her husband because that's the only thing she could really change. Damn. Everything else she didn't have control of because it was hereditary.
Yeah. So spooky.
Let's talk about our mental illnesses really quick because
our mental illnesses, yay!
What are you guys talking about?
Ours.
Perfectly well.
Monique doesn't have any.
Monique.
It'll just be us.
Monique definitely has some.
Okay, come on, diagnose then. What do you think they are?
Hold on, just remember she has a quarter of her arms is tattooed with mental.
I have OCD and depression.
That's crazy. You know what? OCD has got to be a deer family thing. You might have OCD.
I do.
You do?
100%.
Damn, the deers have OCD, bro.
I think you have depression.
I think all of us have depression. Kind of hard to not have depression after all that
You
shit.
would definitely have depression. Don't even fucking look at me like that.
Depression.
Yeah.
I think. Okay, so what do you consider to be depression?
These are my depressions.
Okay. Feelings of low self-worth.
But here's the thing, to be honest with you, I know that I have made choices in life, but that's not like a conscious effort. Like, I'm not like, oh, I feel so sad.
You think people
I
are
feel-
consciously depressed? Like, they're like, oh, I want to be depressed. Like, that's not how depression works.
No, she's right. The whole point of depression is that you don't fucking even realize you're depressed because you're like, oh, I just don't want to live.
But I don't feel like I want to die.
But it's not, depression doesn't mean you're suicidal.
This one just said that you want to die.
I know, because she deals with suicidal deviations.
Oh my
gosh. Suicidal deviations. It's ideations and
Ideations, whatever.
This is not about the movie.
Let's be honest with each other. Yes, it is. The movie's about mental illness.
For sure.
I definitely have mental illness. Are you kidding me? I have so much mental illness. At this point, though, like I'm at a point where like I look at my mental illness as like seasoning for my personality.
Aren't you borderline person? Aren't you yeah, bipolar, right?
Who?
Me?
Who are you
Yeah.
diagnosed?
Hold on, which one?
You, Alicia.
Me?
You're bipolar.
Are you bipolar?
Bipolar?
Mom told us you were diagnosed bipolar. Just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Are you not bipolar? Because this whole time I thought you were bipolar.
Hold on. Holy shit. I'm so glad we got this on camera.
No, dead ass. I always thought that. I was told you were on bipolar.
I thought you were bipolar. Your dad's bipolar.
Are you not diagnosed bipolar?
I'm not bipolar. I've been diagnosed with CPTSD, ADHD.
I've been diagnosed with ADHD and PTSD. I don't know about the C part.
The CPTSD, probably CPTSD. Oh my God.
So
hold on. Mom, when did Mom tell you guys I was diagnosed bipolar?
When you went to college, she said,
What?
Yeah. But I remember specifically when you went to college, she said you had to be on medication and that you were an alcoholic, and that's why you broke your elbow because you were jumping over a wall. And
I did. And I
You
wasn't
also
alcoholic.
fell asleep at a McDonald's.
I did. I passed out at a McDonald's and someone stole my car keys.
in my
wallet.
The car?
Well, no, it was a car key
was
wallet
connected
combination.
to- yeah.
They stole my wallet and it had my car keys on it. But yeah, I mean, I was an alcoholic. That's true.
But she said you were diagnosed bipolar and you were on medication. Are you sure you weren't diagnosed bipolar?
Are you sure you're not bipolar?
First of all, hold on. I'm gonna need. No. I have seen multiple psychologists and psychiatrists. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have never once been diagnosed bipolar. And I even asked because people have implied that I'm bipolar. I have talked to my healthcare providers about this, okay? Because it has been implied many times.
Yeah, but was George actually diagnosed bipolar?
I don't fucking know. I don't know. But here's the thing. I know Chris definitely. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But like, here's the thing.
There's a family history of bipolar.
Yes, I think that it makes sense that she would say that, but no, I have explored this at length with my healthcare professionals because I was concerned that I had bipolar. What it is it's the things that look like bipolar are just ADHD and CPTSD. So I get
ADHD can look like bipolar.
Especially in women, because bipolar is overdiagnosed in women. Damn, y'all think I'm bipolar for real?
No. Well, she told us that.
Holy shit. You guys have been just walking around thinking of a bipolar sister this entire fucking time. And
There's
no one said
nothing wrong
anything
with
to
being
you.
bipolar.
I get that, but what the
There
fuck?
are
I'm not
perfectly
bipolar.
just like get your fucking mental health in check. Like that's it.
What? Get my mental health in check. My mental health is fine.
I need water.
Oh my God. Get my mental health in check.
I'm just saying in general, all of us, like it doesn't matter what you are diagnosed with or not diagnosed with or whatever
I
you
know,
have. It doesn't matter.
I get it. I'm just tripping out because my fucking mother told my sisters and probably my brother too. And I have to fucking talk to my brother after this and tell him I'm not bipolar. So yeah, that's my concern is that y'all been walking around for the last
You need
15
to ask him.
I'm bipolar.
You need to ask.
Did you know I'm bipolar? You should tell him.
Jenica, shut the fuck up. I think Jenica still thinks I'm bipolar.
No, I don't. I believe that it's ADHD.
Yeah. Well,
Because I know that ADHD can mimic bipolar, but you do have extremely high highs and then low lows.
But that has a lot to do with CPTSD, depression, and ADHD. Because what happens is that I'll get triggered and then I'll enter a depressive episode.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm sorry for flipping out about that. That just like
it's okay. I'm sorry that I thought you were bipolar for a long time.
It's fine. I just can't believe I'm that convincing. Like y'all, like no one even thought like.
No, we gave it an excuse. So if you acted that way, we were like, it makes sense.
I love you either way. I accept you no matter what your mental.
I'm sorry. You're right, Jen. You're right. That's ableist.
I'm gonna take that out because that was
okay. As you should. Let's keep moving.
There's a theme of control, which I kind of already mentioned, and that's why she wanted to control their destiny. That's why she tried to burn the book. Even her little house, her little miniature figures were a false sense of control because she had it mirroring her actual life.
True.
The scene of her daughter's death was so strange.
It was really fucked up to make a diagram like that. And when the dad comes in and he's like, what is Peter going to think if he sees this? How is he going to feel if he sees this? And she just like completely denies her son's experience. And I will say that's something that reminded me of Mom when she was like, well, this isn't about him. That is 100% something she would
100%.
like, just not considering the other person.
Everything is everyone else's fault. No matter how they're traumatized, that was their fault.
That's how you're taking it. It's
crazy
problem because that's how you're perceiving it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Like that shit, like that level of gaslighting, I'm telling you, that has set me up for a very difficult time in the world. Anytime I felt like I would express like being upset about something totally valid to be upset about.
Yeah.
Like then she would just respond by either just hitting us or yelling at us, or we were, I think back on it, like being punished
for having. How could she have gaslit you and then being the most supportive person about you being gay? I hope you can look at the parallels.
So Ellen was Annie's mom. And so basically she was the matriarch. So Ellen was more like our mom and of the Graham family. And she was a secret leader of a demon worshipping cult devoted to King Payman. And she was manipulative, controlling, and emotionally abusive, especially towards Annie. So I think that's why you're Annie, Monique.
Well, I will tell you that she left a really nice, if my mother left me a my darling, dear, beautiful Annie, forgive me for all the things I could not tell you. Please don't hate me and try not to despair your losses. You will see in the end that they were worth it.
She's cursing you. Oh, that's like that letter that her mom left her. Oh my
it's the exact letter.
It's the letter. That's your ominous note. That's your.
I'm reading you the letter. Love, mommy.
Okay. I just gotta say, because look, I love our mother. I think that she did the best she could with what she had. I think she gave us the greatest love that was possible for her to give. I really do.
I agree. Okay, so let's talk about Annie's children as pawns for Ellen, the grandmother. Ellen insisted on being close to Annie's daughter, Charlie, from birth. And that actually gets brought up whenever she's in therapy. She says, it's the weirdest way she phrases it. She says, I gave her Charlie.
Yeah.
And when she means by that is like literally, Ellen was breastfeeding her and essentially grooming her as a vessel. But since Payman needed a male host and Charlie wasn't a male, and she even said, like, I wish you were a boy.
She was weird looking. She looked like a bird.
She did look like the bird.
Yeah.
That was another foreshadowing, cutting that bird's head off. Like, who the fuck has just scissors in there?
She got it from the desk.
Annie attempted to keep her family normal and untouched by her mother's influence, but she fails, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then every member of her immediate family is eventually destroyed by the legacy Ellen left behind.
Yeah.
Let's not let that happen, you guys.
I think we're far ahead of this game.
No, but you know what's funny? Like, I love that. I love this movie so much because there's so many different layers and dimensions, and it's the kind of movie that you can watch over and over again and find new things.
Yeah.
But what it boils down to for me is that the overall thesis of that thing in the beginning where he's like, is it more tragic that it's their destiny and they can't control it. But you know what, Monique, you've had a religious background, and I know, Jenica, you don't care at all about the spirituality shit. I know you think this is all very woo-woo, but I will say that, like, I do believe, and to some extent, that like there are paths we can go down. There is a certain amount of destiny in this life in our genetics, and honestly, this is a great example: epigenetics. So epigenetics is basically the idea that you have a full set of DNA inside of your body, but only some of those chromosomes or whatever will be activated based on your environment and your mindset. So if you, let's say, for example, every single one of us, based on our family background, we have the genetics. Like for me, like I know I have the genetics for Parkinson's in my family, unfortunately, because of my grandpa. But like I don't think that means I have to have Parkinson's. I think that means that if there are certain factors in my life that lead to like a lot of stress and distress, I could develop that potentially. There are different genes that express themselves in different ways based on our external environment and the ways that we handle them. So to an extent, like, yes, did we have any say in being born? Did we have any say in being born?
So like nature versus nurture?
Well, it's almost like making the best out of the cards you were dealt. Well, Jenica, what do you think? Do you believe that there's no way you can alter your destiny? What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I definitely think you can alter your destiny. I don't think that you have a predetermined. I think there are certain things that are predetermined for you. I think it's a mixture of both. I
Yeah.
think especially when it comes to Hereditary, I can't choose my eye color. I
Right.
can't choose my height, but I can choose how I interact with those things and how I can manipulate them.
Exactly. So it's like we might not have any control per se over like exactly what's happening, but we can absolutely handle how we deal with it.
Yeah.
What was the significance of the body being taken up the stairs?
Levitated.
Yeah. So, okay, Ari Aster and the film's creators, they dive deep into the occult and the lore within the occult. So a lot of that had to do with being summoned. The grandma is wearing a necklace when at the funeral, at the the wake. That symbol is actually a symbol for Payman. It really is the symbol for him. Yeah, the decapitation, it's an occult symbolism in sacrifice. Being headless is a symbol that we see again and again in these kinds of things.
And it's hard to like walk up the stairs when you don't have a head.
It really is hard to see where you're going.
Yeah, you can't see where you're going. So you kind of have to be like, what's the word? Lured in by the spirit. Yeah. I mean, I feel like being summoned just makes a lot of sense in that situation.
So the crazy thing about this movie is there's aspects of demonology and occult rituals that are grounded in supernatural esoteric lore. And then adding that with the mental illness part and the literally like seeing things and sleepwalking and all these other behaviors, it blurs the line between the two of them.
Sleepwalking right now.
Okay, so I found some more information about the decapitation. So the repeated decapitations aren't in traditional Payman lore, but it fits symbolically. Decapitation represents the severing of identity and will, making the host more vulnerable to take over. It also works as a grotesque mirror of sacred sacrifice, offering heads instead of hearts.
Wow. Interesting.
That is.
I did not consider that, because essentially when you take someone's head, you take their brain. You own them.
There's no more free thought there.
I'd rather the brain than the heart.
Yeah. The heart worships though, because the body was worshiping.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fucked up.
So the secret cult is really interesting in all of this. That friend. Joni there were definitely signs and symbols that, because the math.
I wondered about that. The dead grandchildren, was that real? Like the dead grandchild and the son, or did she make that up just to have something in common?
I feel like it was made up.
I feel like it's made up too, because Monique asked another question that was really good, because in the movie, she said that her grandson died when he was 6.
Yeah.
And then, but he had this six or seven, but on that chalkboard, he was able to like write out quite a bit for a 6 or 7-year-old.
This is true. Wow. It was a really smart 7-year-old that died.
Right. But in the handwriting was very legible. Like, I don't know. It was a little sus.
It was. No, for sure. I call bullshit on her because, like, she wasn't the cult leader. She was just a follower. No one wanted her grandchildren as a sacrifice. So she wanted to be the it girl, and she wasn't the it girl.
Oh my God. That's so true though. She was she was like a ultimate fan, but like she wanted so bad to be the star, but she couldn't. But she did, I will say to her credit, she pulled a lot of strings. She made stuff happen.
Oh yeah, she was totally part of their destiny when it came to this stuff. And like even so when Peter is starting to get symptoms of like possession, like he's starting to get his throat is feeling like it's closing in. He kind of gets all these symptoms that you saw Charlie go through. And it's just like replicating itself. He sees this light that's moving. He starts to hear the clicking.
God, I hate that fucking sound. Sounds like something Alex would do to piss me off.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so annoying. There's like a scene where she's across from the school. He kind of like everything else is tuned out and you can only hear her in that scene. And she's saying for him to leave. She's like, Peter, leave, go. And she's basically expelling him from his body. Like, get the fuck out of here. Payment's coming. Give him yourself.
Oh my God, I didn't even realize that. Wow. No, you're right.
Just rewatch that part.
Yeah, no, we just watched it. I remember exactly the scene, and she says like yells like Italian at him or something.
Yeah, she says a few things, but she definitely like mentions his name and she definitely says for him to leave. Like leave, and she doesn't mean like physically leave. She means like leave your body. Like,
Not Italian. What language is it? It sounded like a curse.
Hebrew or something.
Yes, whatever fucking language that was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The cult is shown as a multi-generational, deeply hidden, and committed to manifesting in their family. There isn't too much more. I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean, whenever we talk about, so the demon, I think, isn't as significant. It could be any demon. It's just, they're worshiping something other than themselves and giving themselves to a higher purpose.
I think that you and I probably love this movie for the same reason, which is that it does feel oddly like intimate and close to home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Bye. Good night. Love you. I'm going to go clean my hereditary tattoo off now.
Oh, I love it. I love the tattoo. I really do.
It is oozing everywhere.
Okay. All right, go. I love you. Goodbye.
All right. Love you too. Bye.
Let's end on a high note.
I just need to die!
It's time for my weekly horror update. There's a website for the new horror movie, Dangerous Animals. It's www.tuckerscage.com. And they want you to book shark diving tours with Captain Tucker. There are reviews of the Tucker's experience on the website with missing people and sharp humor. This movie comes out on June 6th, and I will definitely be seeing this one on the big screen. The legendary alligator from the 1980s horror movie Alligator has passed away. Morris the alligator was between 80 and 100 years old. Morris passed away at his longtime home, the Colorado Gator Farm. Neon shares ASMR livestream to kick off marketing for new Osgood Perkins Nightmare Fuel titled Keeper. It's an endless looping video of a woman scribbling on a notebook, providing an oddly chilling bit of ASMR. This Friday, May 16th, is the official release date for the Final Destination Bloodlines. I'm not going to lie, Final Destination is not my favorite horror franchise, or even in my top 5. But I am curious about this film, and this franchise came at an informative part of my life. I will likely be seeing it the day it comes out. So look for a review on that one. I've already listened to some other reviews, and I mean, I'm just going to be honest, I'm not looking forward to the heavy use of CGI. And one thing that I do love about the Final Destination movies, especially in the beginning ones is the practical effects and the amazing kills. But I am interested in the fact that it has like this family dynamic. Apparently you care a little bit more about these characters because of that. But we'll see. I guess I'll just have to find out. If you have a movie suggestion that could fit into my category of the month, I will watch those movies and give them a rating with my Scream scale. You can email me at screamqueenpodcaster@gmail.com and I will shout you out for participating and supporting the podcast. This is a weekly podcast with new episodes out every Thursday. All research, writing, and audio is done by yours truly. This is a one-woman show and I am doing my very best. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. It really, really, really means a lot. Please rate, review, and subscribe. You can find me on Instagram at Scream Queen Podcaster, Blue Sky at Scream Queen Podcast, TikTok at Scream Queen Podcast, and there is a link tree that will take you to my YouTube and Facebook page as well. While there are some things we can change about ourselves, other things are just hereditary. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Hereditary.